Hi, it's me, Daphne. Welcome to today's video where I'm going to be telling you about all the books I read in February. So the first book I read in February was Lingus by Mariana Zapata. This is her first published work. I had decided in February that I was going to start at the beginning of Mariana Zapata's backlist and read chronologically from there. She is known to be a slow burn queen romance author. Up to that point, I'd read The Wall of Winnipeg, From Luca with Love, All Roads Lead Here, and Culty. And wait for it, actually. I was really enjoying my time with her, so I was like, let me do my due diligence and read all of her books. Because all of those ones I liked pretty well, except The Wall of Winnipeg. Like, I know that's a popular one, but I wasn't like obsessed with it. So let me talk about the book I actually read. So Lingus is about this woman named Kat. She loves porn, and she goes to a porn convention with one of her best friends. And while she's kind of like wandering about the convention, this guy comes up to her, and they like are bantering. They're like kind of hitting it off, whatever. Turns out that guy, I think he said his name was Tristan. I don't remember, and it's not in the synopsis. And I didn't write it down. Actually, I might have written it down. Yeah, it was Tristan. Ha! I remember. It turns out Tristan is a porn star and he has a stage name. He goes by like Johnny Lingus or something. I forget what the first name was. And he like dyes his hair with temporary color to like disguise his natural color so he can kind of live like Hannah Montana and have like his professional life in the porn industry and then his normal life where he like is trying to be an accountant or something normal and have normal friends and stuff. And it's their romance together. So Kat knows from the jump that he is a porn star because that's how they met. And she met him as like his normal identity. And then he was like, oh shit, because he changed. And she was like, isn't that the Tristan guy? And he's like, yeah, it's me. But he doesn't want to have a relationship. He just wants to be friends. And she's like, oh, that kind of sucks, because she was into him, but she agrees to be friends. And it's their like slow burn friends to lovers romance. I ended up giving it 3 stars, solid time. I will say the book was written in 2015 and that really shows, okay? There are some unlikable, like really rude, biased, just ugly comments that Kat has in her internal monologue. Just like stupid shit, like I don't know, just like physically shaming people, being very judgy. She acts like she's open-minded, and the character's like supposed to be open-minded because obviously like she's like sex positive and like she's trying to date a porn star and all this stuff, but then she's like a judgy bitch in like half of her internal thoughts. So just heads up, it is a victim of its time in a very unlikable way, but overall the story satisfied me enough, overlooking that. The next book I read in February was Red Rising. I read this for Sam's book club. She's doing a whole Red Rising series read-along for, I don't know, the next handful of months. I think there's like 6 or 7 books in it. I'm just a quasi co-host, so I've joined her for the Red Rising Live, and I plan to join her live show for Golden Sun, which is the second book in the series. But anyway, I read Red Rising for that. I had previously picked it up like a year ago and wasn't really like into it. This is like fantasy, but make it space sci-fi. So it's sci-fi fantasy, and I listened to it mainly on audio, which really helped me get over that hurdle of like understanding the world and understanding the lingo, because I was really struggling trying to read with my eyeballs the first time around, and I powered through that audio, and I ended up having a fun time. And it was made even more fun because I got to talk about it with Sam and Eliza, and a buddy read makes the whole experience of reading a book that much more worth it, less isolating, and just like fun to chat theories and get different opinions. And yeah, they just made me that much more excited about this series, and I appreciated different aspects of the book more after talking to them about it. I ended up originally rating this 3 stars, but I bumped it up to 4 stars after our live show chat. So there's proof for you there that buddy reading makes books more enjoyable overall. And then another book I had to read for a book club was The Informant by Kurt Enrichwald. This is a nonfiction book about price fixing. It's like a very financy book. I read this for my book club with my college friends. Honestly, this nonfiction read like fiction. It was wild. Like, is it the most riveting topic? Not really. So the main character in this was this guy named Whitaker who worked for this company named ADM. They like work in like farm related stuff, and he was like fixing the market with other companies that were in competition with them. That way they didn't have to like rely on the consumer's demand to determine the price and compete with each other. They were like fixing it themselves so that they all got a fair split of the pie. All very illegal stuff, but he ends up becoming an informant for the FBI against the company. But this guy, spoiler, but not really a spoiler, he is unhinged. Like, he causes so much chaos. Like, he's supposed to be helping the FBI, but he's like undermining the investigation, and he's lying about certain things, and then he's like pretending that he's being threatened, and like, I don't know, he was just delusional. He was just crazy. You just could never guess what he was gonna do. And he's supposed to be like the center of this investigation. So yeah, very strange. I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. It was good to read something out of my comfort zone. And then after I was done with all my book club obligations, I was like, let's pick up some more romance. And I started to read Under Locke by Mariana Zapata. Now guys, I don't hear that many people talking about Under Locke when they reference Mariana Zapata. They're always talking about like From Luca with Love, Culty, like those two in particular, Wall of Winnipeg, even though I don't even think Wall of Winnipeg is that good. But Under Locke is probably my favorite Mariana Zapata at this point. So this story is about a young-ish woman. She's probably like early to mid 20s. She's working at a tattoo parlor as like a receptionist because she's desperate for work. She's recently like run away from a bad situation, and she's living with her half brother who's in this motorcycle club. So he hooks her up with the owner of the tattoo parlor for work. And the owner is the love interest, and his name is Dex Locke. He's like early 30s, I believe. He's like in his 30s. I just am obsessed with this book. It's very, very long, as Mariana Zapata books tend to be, but it's not the slowest burn of hers. Like, it's slow burn for the beginning, and you just like eat up those breadcrumbs of like the subtle touches and like the clues that he likes her, because the book is all told from Iris's perspective, the female main character. And I just loved it so much. I actually read this while I was away at a bachelorette trip. You know the book was good when I had to read it while at a bachelorette trip. Like, people were like hanging out inside eating pizza, and I was like, I'm gonna stay by the hot tub. I'm gonna stay by the hot tub and read my cute little romance and eat it up. Would definitely recommend it as one of Mariana Zapata's like top books. It's very spicy. Again, less slow burn than some of the other ones where they get like one sex scene in like the last 10 pages. Yeah, I just had so much fun, and I can't wait to reread it one day soon. I ended up giving this a perfect 5 stars because I had no complaints. None. Zero. Though I have to give you a trigger warning for violence and terminal illnesses and death, kind of, but like off page. Things off page happened. Then, I know I told you I'm supposed to be reading physical books right off my physical TBR. That is supposed to be my priority for the year. But with all these book club obligations, things just get out of hand. But I finally picked up a physical book, which was Onyx Storm. I just posted my spoiler vlog for it. If you've read this book and you're interested to see all my spoilery thoughts and like my excitement of being in the hype of this book, this is the 3rd book in the series that begins with Fourth Wing. Overall, I gave it 3 stars. I didn't hate it. Some people really hated it. Like, I know Jess and Tori didn't like it. And like other people I speak to on Bookstagram and YouTube and stuff weren't like obsessed with this. But I feel like I trust Rebecca Yarros to weave it all together. This book definitely had like middle book syndrome to the max, where a lot of things were introduced, a lot of new questions were posed, and hardly any answers were given. I don't think a single answer was given in this entire book, but a lot of things were like starting to get addressed. Things that seemed kind of random in the first 2 books, you're like, oh wait, there's definitely a reason for that becomes hinted at in this one, but you, again, get no actual answers. I will continue the series. I will stay in the hype with it because most of my enjoyment comes with being involved in the hype and getting to talk to my friends about it and getting to watch all the videos online and the podcasts and the theories and the spoiler vlogs. It's just so fun. Hopefully the end of the series is satisfactory, but I have faith that it will be, for once. I haven't been loving romantasy that much in the last few months to a year. But this one is working for me. I'm having fun. Next, we have my one and only novella for the month of February, which was An Angel for the Devil by who else other than Jessica Cain. Okay, I ended up giving this one 3 stars. So our female main character, she lives with her family. They are not able to make rent. They have this like devil landlord that a lot of the tenants are scared of because he is quick to evict people when they can't meet rent for like the first time. So they're like, shoot, we're gonna get evicted and we have nowhere to go. So they look to our female main character, who's this beautiful young woman, and they're like, hey, maybe you could seduce the landlord. He's like a 30-year-old man. Like, he's not gross. Obviously, he's the love interest and he's hot, whatever. He's rich. And she's like, I don't know anything about sex, but like, sure, mommy, I'll seduce him. Right, very strange plot setup. She ends up catching the landlord's attention before he's able to evict her family. She's obviously trying to like win his favor so that way she can talk to him about this issue of her family not being able to pay this month, but he like becomes so smitten and in love with her right away. He's just very like closed off, reclusive, doesn't let people in, has a lot of walls up, and he lets his walls down for her and they like start falling in love. He like flies her off to Paris and she's like feeling guilty. She's like, oh my God, like I'm in love with him, but this all started because I was supposed to manipulate him, and she's like scared to come clean. And it's that whole story. Like, it's a novella. We're reading it for the smut. Okay, I could tell you the whole plot and it doesn't matter. You could still read it because we're here for the smut, right? It was fine. Not one of my favorites from her, but it was sufficient. And then I was so fortunate to find another 5-star read in February. I picked up The City We Became. This was actually another book club obligation for my book club with my friends from New York City. I absolutely love this. It is so deeply New York. Like, this book is New York City, okay? It's about these boroughs and the city of New York itself coming alive as people, like personified in these people. Like, they don't just like pop out of nowhere. They were like normal human beings, and then all of a sudden like cosmically, like interdimensional, like transformative, they just become the city. They become the boroughs. So they become Manhattan, they become Brooklyn, the Bronx, Staten Island, Queens. And it was just such an experience to read this as someone who's lived in New York City for about 4 years now and know the city decently well. Like, I live in Manhattan, so I obviously know Manhattan the most. I will say though, if you don't care about New York, or you've not consumed a lot of New York City media and movies and other books that take place in this setting, or you've never visited New York, or you're just like not a city person, you don't like love cities, this book is not gonna do anything for you, most likely. Like, I think it's just such a magical moment to know New York so well and read this book. Let me just explain the premise. Like I said, they are personified. There's a lot of magic going on. There's this woman in white who is the villain of the story, who's trying to take over the city for herself by killing the personifications of the boroughs and the main personification of New York City. It's them like trying to defeat this big bad and her monsters. The other thing that I want to say is I've filmed a vlog for this that I'm still currently working on. Like, I finished the book a while ago, but because I live in New York City, I wanted to take the opportunity to level up the vlog and visit some of the spaces and places that take place in this book IRL and film it for you guys and like give you a little New York City tour so you could get a little more connected to New York City through my vlog and the specific places mentioned in this book. I'm gonna keep it non-spoiler just to get a sense of the setting and all that. So maybe one day you will pick it up and visit New York City for yourself after watching my vlog and my little New York City tour and just like love it. Hopefully even a fraction of how much I loved it. There is a second book in the series. I need to read the second one. I need to buy it, but I'm like trying not to add to my physical collection, but like, I should just do it anyway, I don't care. So the next book I read was another Mariana Zapata, and this one was called Rhythm, Chord, and Malykhin, I think is how you pronounce that name. It's the male main characters, last name. So this story is between Gabby, who's the female main character, and Sasha, who is the male main character. Gabby is twins with this guy, I can't remember his name, we'll call him Mike. He is in a band and he's traveling the country and the globe with another band, and he invites his sister Gabby to join to be like their merch girl, because their original merch person was like stealing from them and stuff, and Gabby's in between jobs and she's just a little lost, so her brother invites her to join the tour. So she agrees, and that's where she meets Sasha, who is the lead singer of the other band that is on the tour with them. The vibe of this one is so different from any of the other Mariana Zapata books that I read. This group of friends, like, it's quite the like found family. Like, her brother and his two best friends are also Gabby's two best friends. They've known each other since they were like in diapers pretty much. Just seeing that bond between friends and how Gabby becomes such good friends with Sasha, and just the banter and like teasing, just in a way that's so different than the typical romance. For example, Sasha and the group are playing soccer, and Gabby's like, I don't want to freaking play, because every time I play soccer with my brother and the guys, I end up getting hurt because you guys take it too far. But she eventually agrees, but she like goes at these people too. Like, she's tripping people, and then she has to be like the goalie for the penalty kicks or whatever, or like, I don't know anything about soccer, but like the tie-breaking kicks. And Sasha goes up and he obviously tries to score on her with the kick, and it hits her right dead in the center of the face. And his first instinct is to laugh, right? Like, she's hurt, but like, she's all right, you know what I mean? But you know, most love interests would be like grumpy or like, oh my God, are you okay? I'm so sorry. But like, he's laughing because they're just having a silly fun time, and that's just like the dynamic of the group. I don't know, they do like bets on each other where they're like, oh, if you lose you have to shave your head, and like just silly vibes in the group in that way. And just seeing like love interests have that kind of dynamic is just very unique for a story that I've come across. And just seeing him fall in love with her, and her like not knowing that he's falling in love with her because she just doesn't believe it, because he's just like so out of her league as far as she believes. And yeah, I ate it up. I did indeed. I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. I mean, I think it could easily be a 4 stars now that like I think back on it. There's like nothing that sticks in my brain as being like, oh, you needed to deduce it 1.5 stars. But I gave it 3.5 stars when I finished it. Definitely one I would recommend to read out of her collection. And then the last book I read in February was another Mariana Zapata, and this one was Dear Aaron. I rated this 3 stars at the end of the day, but I will say the first half of the book, oh my God, the book is like 500 pages, and literally it takes you past 50% to finally have like a traditionally written book. The first 50% are just emails between the two characters, which is fine, but like the female main character, I can't even tell you her name right now. Her emails in the beginning were so unbearable to read. She's so awkward and uncomfortable. It was truly a torture to get through that first half. I'm like, these people are supposed to be falling in love over these emails, and I'm just like, this girl is just like so awkward on paper. You know, like once you get into like the normal written version of the book where you can see her thoughts and like people are being described in places and stuff versus just emails, like you can understand her better. So I would have rated like the first half, like honestly, like 1.5 stars. But the second half of the book, I'd probably give like 3 stars, 3.5 stars maybe. So this is between our female main character, who is in this program to write to military guys, or just military personnel in general. It's not like necessarily men, just there tends to be a lot more men in the military, I guess. And our military guy, I can't remember anybody's, oh, well, his name is fucking Aaron. His name is in the book. I was gonna say, I can't remember anybody's name. He's writing to her as a part of this program. He's writing to a couple other people as well, like people who have families, and they just keep him up to date. So he's just not like so bored, pretty much. Like he's out in the desert in like Iraq or something, and obviously he's dealing with terrible things, with dealing with bombs and war and danger and imminent death and things like that. And just being able to write to people in the States is a good program for these soldiers to center themselves and not just like feel so isolated out there in their situation and stuff like that. I imagine. I don't have anybody in the military personally. I've never participated in anything like this, but that was what I understood from the message of the book. You know, they've never seen each other. They've never even talked on the phone, but Aaron's like, I want to meet IRL when I come back to the States for my leave. Like, he'll be in the US for like a month or something. Definitely one I'd say you could skip out of Mariana Zapata's collection. But I was doing my due diligence. I really wanted to quit. I really wanted to quit in that first half. But thankfully, I checked the reviews on Goodreads and they were like, guys, it's gonna be 50% before these fucking emails are over. If I didn't know that, like if I was at like 20%, I'm like, we're still in these emails. We're still, like, I'd be in total disbelief. I'm like, when is this freaking over? Like 50% is way too much. But yeah, that's it. Those are all the books that I read in February. I hope you enjoyed spending some time with me. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to leave it a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate it, and obviously it helps out my channel. And I will catch you in another video. Bye.